Hello everyone, Shalom v'bruchim habayim to our Games On panel, Gaming, Grooving and Moving. My name is Avner, I'm the former head of Yahoo Games. Today I'm the co-founder of Taco, and what we do is at the very edge of technology in terms of app delivery. We provide you your app from any device in real time. Now, I'm joined here today by industry leaders. We're going to talk about the games industry, and at the very end we're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. These guys are touching software, hardware, mobile, and social components of the games industry, which today is an $80 billion global industry. It eclipses the movies and the music industry combined. By way of introduction, I just want to give everybody an opportunity to know a little bit more about the industry. Today, when we put smartphones and tablets in your back pocket, that means all of you guys are walking around with a game console. We love that. What that means, for example, is that in Q1 of this year, the 4 leading stores, Apple, Google, BlackBerry, believe it or not, Microsoft, hit 13.4 billion downloads with revenues of 2.2 billion. That's just for the first quarter of this year. Social gaming alone is an $8 billion industry led by females who are 54% of the market, leading their male counterparts. Social gaming has capitalized on the virtual goods, on advertising, and on the lead generation business. And new business models via young companies such as Zynga, King, Flurry, Rovio have created in mobile game sector. 67% of all time spent on tablet is spent playing games. It has overtaken the total time spent watching movies, videos, listening to music, and reading magazines combined. As new games consoles are touching down towards the end of this year, we're going to see 4th generation consoles. Microsoft Xbox One, Sony's PS4 are ready to enter a new era of console gaming to take a new generation of digital consumers. Microsoft has the Kinect baked very deep into its console. Sony has ambitions with its acquisition of Gaikai about a year ago to go into cloud gaming. And so what does this all mean? Well, it means that geeks like us no longer have to be afraid to be gamers. We've come out of the closet in full force, right, gentlemen? All right, so let me introduce you to your panel today. The panel is comprised of industry leaders in various categories of the games industry. On the very far right is Activision's VP of External Development, Dan Winters. Yeah, that's right. Activision is a worldwide online PC console, handheld, and mobile game developer with market positions across every major category in the entertainment software industry. Extreme Reality, over here, this gentleman, Asaf Barzilay, is a privately held company based in Herzliya. The company has developed a patented 3D motion technology, and if you ask Asaf, he will tell you 100% of motion sensor technology comes from Israel. You will debate that with him. We also are joined by Spin Master's VP of Global Licensing, Craig Sims. Spin Master makes life more fun, and their mission is pushing the boundaries of innovation, creativity, and fun in the toy industry. And finally, last but not least, we have Meir Friedlander of Playcast. Playcast is a private label cloud gaming market leader serving AAA video game directly to consumers' TV and mobile devices. So with that, we're going to kick it off. Meir, I'm going to ask you the first question, and we're allowed to debate on the panel, but let's keep it clean, nothing below the belt. All right. So, Meir, at Playcast, we'd like to know a little bit more about you, what you do with the company, and then if you can also tell us a little bit about the gaming console industry, what are some of the major changes it is going through? Please share with the audience, tell us what you think where the game industry is headed, especially for developers and publishers.
Okay. Hear me? So Playcast is a white label cloud company. White label means that we work with operators and publishers to offer combined as a service. And cloud means that we run the game in the cloud, we virtualize the game in the cloud, and eventually bring it to any device as if it was played on a console. So it's AAA games, console games, also casual games, but casual games are perhaps not as, I say, challenging, but AAA games. As if it was played on any console means that it has to be very low latency. People are very sensitive about, when you play a gamepad, what's the latency? Our latencies are under 100 milliseconds end to end. Once you push a button, you get a reaction from from the game, and more important, even the quality of the game. Quality of the game should be as if the game is played locally over many kinds of different network infrastructure, to mobile devices, to our living room. One of the things we do see in current gaming industry, and I think the Xbox One probably presented more than the Sony PS4, is the convergence of many kind of entertainment into one device. If you look at Microsoft announcement, it's more about gaming, high-end gaming content, but also TV and gesture recognition and other activities we will do in the living room. So making it as a device in the middle of the living room. On the other hand, we do see some, I'd say, smaller devices or lower-end devices. They're also bringing it up to the market. Like, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ouya? How many of you are familiar with, probably you have over-the-top devices like Roku and other devices on your set-top boxes. All these devices with cloud gaming will be able to play AAA games as if these games are played on the same console. So all these devices bring eventually to us consumers the games and other types of entertainment into one specific device. This is our vision. This is the way we see it. And interesting enough, eventually it brings and grows the audience. So I think Ross mentioned how many people are playing Zynga, the role of women playing gamers. So for example, how many of you consider yourself as gamers?
They're still in the closet.
Only few. How many of you consider yourself as a movie watchers or video entertainment? Probably all of you. Gaming potential should be as big as entertainment, as big as movies. Why shouldn't it be? Zynga proved it so. Others proved it so. I think that one of the things that we try to do is bring it to everybody, anytime, anywhere. So making the family play games in the living room, even though they don't have a game console necessarily in front of them.
Sure. Well, you mentioned a little bit about the motion gesture technology, and I'd like to turn it over to Asaf from Extreme Reality. Asaf, if you can tell us a little bit about the company, what you do, and then what are some of the things that you guys are doing in terms of the future planning when it comes to things like mobile devices, et cetera?
Sure. So Extreme Reality developed a software-only solution that can recognize and analyze the human body motion in real time. And the most interesting part is that we don't need any hardware, any dedicated hardware for that. We just need a webcam, any webcam within your laptop, within your iPad, within your even mobile phone. Whenever this camera views and sees the human body, we can analyze it and track it. So all in all, this solution allows us to bring the experience that is currently only owned by very sophisticated hardware, consoles, expensive consoles, into everyday consumer electronics, because everybody around the room here has a camera in practically every consumer electronics he has at home. So why limit the motion interaction and the user interaction just to a specific console in the living room when we can have it anywhere around us in our PC, all-in-ones, laptops, phones, etc. So what we're doing, we're practically creating a technological layer. This technological layer can run on any operating system, Windows, iOS, Android, and we provide this technology layer to application developers, game developers, who turn their games into motion games and can now publish it everywhere in every app store without having to limit themselves to the glass roof of consoles. And this is very important because up until now, motion experience, user interaction of motion has been very limited with the number of users who can use it. Only persons who bought specific dedicated hardware. And right now what we're doing is we're opening up to everyone. Everybody can download the game from the Apple Store, everybody can download the game from the Windows 8 Store, and all of a sudden your own machine is becoming a mobile gesture recognition and human interaction recognition.
Sure, and I want to come back and talk to you a little bit about what that means for content, but I want to continue also introducing the panel. Craig, I want to turn it over to you. Craig from Spin Master. How is Spin Master intending to use game technology? So we just heard two technology companies from Israel. How are you intending to use game technology to create new toys and products in the marketplace?
I think it's a really great question because you have to question now, what is the definition of a toy? Because a lot of kids have got access to either iPads or iPhones, and just incredible toys, and it's a huge opportunity for the kids industry. The big things for us are mobile. You know, back in the day, to develop a console game cost millions and millions of dollars, and it really was only a few companies that could do that. Now, companies have the ability to put IP out in the marketplace for much cheaper. The venture capitalists love this model. You know, for $250,000, you can put something out there, you can see how it goes, you can incubate it, you can continue with the development if it's successful. And I think that we are really going to use these huge exponential growth curves to really change our model as to how we look at the toy industry. I think that when it comes to us and how we're going to use technologies, you know, technologies have always been around. Everybody's talking mobile, but back in the day, people were infatuated with TV. And then the big, huge cinema came out, you know, and then IMAX came out, and then the PC came out. And the whole thing about technology is that it just shortens the distance between the consumer and the message. Like back in the day, if you wanted to communicate with somebody, you had to write them a letter, put it on a ship, and the ship had to go 6 months. Now you just type something on your iPad and you send it immediately. So the distance is shortening between the people that create the messages and the kid. But the one thing that remains constant, no matter how quickly it changes technology, is that emotional connection that we can actually make with our customer. Every single person that puts their hand in their pocket needs to feel an emotional connection to something that he's buying. So the underlying principles have not changed. It's just now, it's just amazing. You can develop an app, and like that, you can have access to huge markets that we could never even dream of back in the day.
Thank you. All right, I want to turn it over to Dan from Activision, who's been in the industry for several years, has seen quite the evolution of the industry. Dan, would love to have you tell the folks a little bit about what does it mean to be an external development officer at Activision, and by all means, feel free to show us your products as well.
Sure. This is my second time around at Activision. The first time around, I had I'll call it the benefit of working in internal development at Activision. And then I went, and obviously Craig was talking about that emotional connection. I spent 10 years at the Walt Disney Company, where, you know, that was kind of a mantra for us, obviously, something that we tried to embed in everything, all the experiences that we created then. And I've now been back at Activision for 8 years. What we do in the external development world is we try to create solutions for some of our studios. If we can't find a solution with an internal opportunity, then we go out and we find the solution externally. And that means that we either find startup community type groups, or we find individuals, or we find spin-out opportunities. We've done a few things like that with Sledgehammer Games and Robomoto and a couple groups who just had a few people who were looking for an opportunity, and we found a way to invest in them, give them startup funds, and then obviously work as a partnership together going forward. And then also, you know, we find just external development deals, work for hire partnerships, as well as acquisitions. So I just wanted to share with you quickly before I get on a roll some of our titles, if you wouldn't mind. One of the titles actually is very close to what Craig has been doing for so many years at Spin Master. It's our Skylanders brand. And this is kind of a new little video piece that I'd like to share with you because it really does highlight that emotional connection. And also for us, we try to innovate in the toys as well as the software product every single year. And so this is highlighting some of the innovation that we have set for this year. And then I have another little, I'll call it a gift for you afterwards, after we watch this one.
Very nice.
Good stuff, man.
So just as a point, a little bit of context, the little guy in the baby suit is the evil character inside the game. He's your primary nemesis, and so any chance we can poke fun at him, we do. And also the portal that you saw inside where we put the toys on top actually is very relevant to the conversations we're having the next couple of days here, because it really came out of necessity. The invention came from necessity because the title was in jeopardy of being changed and potentially canceled, and the development studio was in dire straits. And so out of necessity, they came up with this play mechanic. And they were big toy people, and they loved software, and they had done beautiful games before. And they came up with this play mechanic they showed to the company in our Greenlight meetings, and everybody thought right away that it was something very special. And not until we actually played the game did we understand how that magic moment of putting your character inside that portal and then showing it reflect inside the game, now you're playing that character. Then if you want to take that character off and play with a different one, you take him off, you put a different one on the portal, and now you're playing with him. or her. And so what you do is you identify, to Craig's point, very emotionally and closely of a connection with those characters, and people collect them. I was telling Craig earlier before the talk that on Bakugan, his property, I have a cross-street neighbor who went out and bought every single Bakugan in the toy store. Went to Toys R Us and bought every one, twice. So they bought one set to play with, and one set, if you go into their bedroom, it's all displayed in the same packaging on the wall. And we'd like to believe that there are people doing the same thing with Skylanders. Now, I don't know the number, but I believe that we've sold something like, 40 million toys over the last couple of years. And so we believe it's pretty popular. And obviously the play mechanic, and then this innovation where you can take characters and then swap them off with one another, we believe can move it forward. But you guys probably know more about Call of Duty, I would gather. We've been very fortunate to have some very good development studios working on Call of Duty and making some very innovative, high-quality games. And so I have a video to show you. I'm going to tell you right now, I apologize for the self-serving nature of the video, okay? It's a promo reel that we use to sell to retail, and it has a lot of numbers about how well we've done over the last couple of years financially with the brand. That is not the intent for me showing it to you, okay? It happened to be a piece that has a lot of different things in it to highlight the fact that it's not just a game, but it's an overall experience.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Activision. But this is a great segue into the next section of what we want to talk about on this panel, which is content. So I'd like to go back to Asaf and back to the motion sensor technology and talk a little bit about how does motion sensor technology change the future of content. So, everybody here probably has seen where you dance, the motion sensor recognizes you and you earn points. But are we going to see, for example, a day where my 3-year-old is in front of the TV playing with Cookie Monster and it recognizes that he's bored and he starts to walk away and Cookie Monster goes, wait, don't go away, come back. So what happens with content? And then I also want you to look at Dan and ask him if he's going to let you motion sensor Call of Duty.
You've got some time to think about that.
Thanks, Ross.
You've got 2 minutes to think about that. So. At the end of the day, content provides user experience. Yeah. And user experience is what the user are related to, connected to, and the technological layer of motion sensing and gestural interaction is what helps us get a better user experience. So at the end of the day, the more we know about how to use the motion technology, the more we learn about what's easy for the user, what's natural for him, the more we learn more what he can do, what he can't do, what he thinks of, following his body movement and expressions, then we can improve the content. So to your answer, I believe to your question, the answer is yes. I believe the moment the user is going to be bored, we can learn that, we can analyze that. He doesn't have to say anything, he doesn't have to type in, I'm bored, or press the escape. We would know that automatically and can adapt the content according to the user behavior. It could be a very active behavior of selecting elements, moving elements, throwing them around in anger, not in anger, but just moving his hand freely or his body in a very natural way. Or it could be a passive behavior. We can analyze the user experience and see. Now, would you?
I'm going to take a note. Write that down, yeah. So actually, we've actually have used motion-type things in some of our products, including we have a light gun that we use for Call of Duty historically. It's really an accessory for the experience. It's not intended to be the primary focus of it. But there are other games like Mass Effect, obviously, who have used the motion sensor and some of the voice commands and things like that. I think that motion technology and voice technology is just one additional step allowing us to get closer to the consumer or to the audience and allowing them to have not so many barriers in between, right? You talked about that earlier. And I think that's a really powerful tool. When I was at Disney, I loved the idea of breaking the fourth wall. You mentioned about Cookie Monster saying to the child, hey, don't leave. There is some powerful connection to that. And actually you see it in real life when people go to Disneyland and they see Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse is in a great big costume, and the suspension of disbelief is so real that they think they're seeing a movie star. And when Mickey reaches down and shakes that little child's hand and welcomes and recognizes them as someone that he knows, that is a very, very powerful tool. And I think that more and more in our experiences, we'll see that highlighted because story will be much more important in all of our experiences.
Yeah, okay, so with that, Meir, I just want to also ask a little bit about with the new game consoles coming out. It's something we've been waiting for the next generation of game consoles. Please share with the audience a little bit about the change that has taken place and what does it mean for the games industry?
May I ask a question? Another question? The audience? So I'll give you three numbers. 150 million units, 100 million units, and about 70 million units. PlayStation 1, 2, and 3. Can you make the links? Which one sold what? So just to give you the answer, PlayStation 3 is the 70 million. I think 2 is the 155 or so million units. So I think that barriers to entry is something which is very important. I think that was discussed here. I think that if we as a part of the gaming industry would like to approach everyone eventually and have longer engagements, this is, I think, our goal, so people appreciate it more, pay for it more eventually. We need to first cut the barriers to entry, and I think Motion and others will do that. So if you ask me about next generation of game consoles, I think the promise in Xbox One is better on that perspective. I mean, it will have the ability to reach more people. The day that PS3 and Xbox 360 came out to the market, was way up front with number of units sold. I think Wii doesn't sell anymore at all in the last couple of years. Still, Wii is 100 million units versus 75 million units, the other two. So I think if you find a way to bring more audience to become gamers, and then let them engage more, this is, I think, this should be the goal. And so game consoles that will be able to do that, I think we'll be able to succeed and
Sure, but there's a problem there as well because nowadays folks here have tablets. They're playing with their tablets as well. I mean, there's good reason to believe that the next generation of consoles are going to sell less than their predecessors. I mean,
Correct.
Do you think that's the case?
I think this is the case, but keep in mind that next generation consoles will be more than just game consoles. So if you look at game consoles, why wouldn't Roku you consider Roku as a next generation game console? Why wouldn't you consider the next Apple TV as a game console? Mm-hmm. So overall, you have 3 billion households with TV sets in the living rooms. All those TV sets could be game consoles eventually with cloud gaming. So I think that eventually, if you bring all that around, you'll have many more gamers. Unfortunately, I think for Sony, I think they'll sell less PS4s. Okay,
so Dan, what does that mean for Activision if there's less game consoles out there? How do you ensure that you're still getting product like Call of Duty in front of gamers and ensuring that that market share doesn't go away?
It's a great question. I think that, first of all, I think that the consoles and how many they sell and how many units are in the marketplace all going to come down to content. Right? If there is compelling content that requires me as a consumer to need to go out and buy a console, I'm going to buy the console. And if you look at the PlayStation 1 days in Resident Evil and Final Fantasy were the two titles that were exclusive to that platform for a while. And as a result, everybody had to rush out and get a PlayStation 1 or they couldn't play those games. And Xbox has done the same thing with Halo and also with Gears of War, and so they have exclusive content on their platform. I think that if that trend continues and those games continue to be as high quality and they're a must need, then those consoles will continue to sell. I don't know if they'll hit the same numbers.
Sure.
I think to your point, there's a disparate type of platform play going on right now, and that challenges people like Activision and Electronic Arts and Take-Two and everybody else. It challenges us to think more creatively about how we're going to deliver our content. Are we going to deliver our content solely on the consoles, or are we going to also complement that with an augmented experience on your cell phone or on your tablet? And certainly we are trying to do that with a number of different initiatives. We tried an elite experience last year where we are trying to allow for a subscription model for the audience. We have, let's say, 40 million people playing community-driven multiplayer Call of Duty. And we thought that we could provide an enhanced experience for those people and allow them, if they were going to buy the downloadable content anyways, to do that up front and then also be a VIP member. We didn't execute perfectly on that, and so we're learning from that. And I would say that that is the biggest difference in today's market. Is yesterday's market was all about launching, fire and forgetting. So you would build up a marketing campaign for a number of months. You'd release a title out in the marketplace. You would do as much as you could to provide a high quality, high fidelity experience, and you held on and waited and hoped that the consumer loved it. And there wasn't much you could do with it. Now, it's much more of a launch and learn mentality. So you put something out that is, I'll call it, first viable product, and you see how the consumer is experiencing your game, and then you use telemetry or analytics or some sort of direct line of communication with the audience, and then you modify, you iterate, and you change the game to mold and to fit, to customize what the audience is actually asking for. So to me, that's the biggest difference, and I think that changes the mentality, the language of how we make our product, more so than what platform we put it on.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, please.
If I may, I think the gaming industry will go the same path that the movie industry went through a few years ago. And movie industry reinvented itself with, people said that once DVD or VHS came to the market, no one will go any further anymore to the theaters. And then, to look today people go more to the theaters, and then you have, I think, the highest quality of TV shows ever produced for television. I think it's a combination of release windows, so just looking the same game, and then perhaps releasing the same game over other platforms over time in a packaging or reduced price or whatever. It's a combination of variation of the game, sequels, prequels, all the stuff that you see on television, you're going to see in games as well. And eventually, you're all going to consume it more.
For movies, by the way, I believe that there is an enhanced experience. There's a different experience than going to the film and watching, even if on my say I have I do not have a 70-inch TV set, but let's say I do, because I want one. So I figured maybe I start it now, and you guys can help me, and I can get a 70-inch TV set. So let's say I have a 70-inch TV set in my rec room. That experience is still much different than me going to the movie theater and seeing it on a huge screen with surround sound in a theater environment. So I think as long as there is a difference between the experiences, and right now the high fidelity experience of being on your console is different than playing on your tablet. As long as there are differences to that, and we continue to build high quality product, I believe people will probably be compelled to continue to experience those things on the console in living room.
Correct. Wonderful. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. This is an open question to the folks on the panel. This is the Israel Conference, and one of our goals is to facilitate business and get innovators to find American counterparts and do business. And so one of the things that I'd like from your perspective, and again, this is an open question to the panel, is what are you seeing from the industry in Israel? How is it impacting your business? What are you doing as a crossover with Israeli technology companies or content companies or whatever the case may be?
Because most of the motion technology is coming from Israel.
Yes, we can debate whether it's 100% or not, but a lot of the motion technology and gesture technology comes from Israel. So whoever we speak to about our technology recognizes Israel as one of the leading places in the world bringing out such technologies, productizing them, and bringing them to the end users. So right now we're in a very interesting domain where we are dealing with first bringing out new experiences to the end users, but in the same time needing to work with various industries out there to bring the best content, because we're mainly the technological layer, and Israel is focusing on the technological layer, but we do know that in order to bring the content out, we need to work abroad, work with game developers, work with big studios to bring out what the end users would see. And once we recognize this, both as the Israeli industry, both as extreme reality, then we understand our best position within this process, and that's the way we look at it.
Mm-hmm. We actually just returned from an awesome trip to Israel. We went on a business development trip. We met with a whole bunch of Israeli technology companies, and for us it's a lot of fun to spend more time in Israel. We love the hummus, we love the coffee, we love the cigarettes, cigariyot, shakshuka, all this stuff, and as well we meet with Israeli technology companies that don't necessarily have the contacts that we may have just because geographically we're based in Los Angeles, and it's awesome to try and find ways to do business. Now with technology being so ubiquitous and things happening at such a pace, for us to not be in Israel looking and meeting with Israeli technology companies and looking for the next big thing, I think it would be a big miss for any company. And I would really encourage, it's such an amazing experience just to go to Israel to try and do business. And just like Activision, if you go and you put out 10 things and one hits like Call of Duty, it's worth it. And I think that you need the time, you need the seat time, you need to develop the relationships, and that's what we've now in earnest started to do. And to that point, we just set up an office in Israel, which is going to be a bit of a research and development, going, looking, checking things out.
Excellent. Awesome. Just a quick question for Dan. Dan is also involved with mergers and acquisitions at Activision. I am curious if you can share with the audience the type of things that you guys look for that you do.
It changes. I think that when we're looking to acquire or what we call a tuck-in acquisition, we're looking to feed our pipeline, enhance our infrastructure. Sometimes we'll go out and we'll buy something that has intellectual property, like a game attached to it, but primarily it's much more about, an example would be that when we bought Demonware. Demonware was basically a matchmaking service for the Xbox. That was about it. They hadn't really ventured into the Sony platform yet, they hadn't ventured into the Nintendo platform yet, but they had a head start. So usually what we're looking at, we try to ask ourselves the several question: should we buy, should we rent, or should we partner? Or should we build? So there are four questions we ask. So if we're going to build, we try to itemize how much it would cost us and when we would be complete if it's a need for us. And at that point that we bought Demonware, multiplayer was, we thought, a growing part of Call of Duty. I don't think we realized how big it was going to grow. So we took a look at that and we itemized it would cost this much money and it would take this much time. We thought that Demonware got us farther down the path, less expensively, than if we'd have built it ourselves, or if we would have partnered with somebody else. So those are the way we try to, that's the way we try to kind of look at it. We ask those four questions of ourselves, and if there's a more efficient way to do it, and it's affordable, and there's a good chemistry, which I think is very important, because integration after the acquisition is a very, very important part of it, then we are always open to helping our pipeline be better.
Wonderful. And Craig, kind of a similar question for you. I know that you're a buyer of technology. You mentioned a little bit about having an office now in Israel, which is wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're looking for so folks here can understand and get a little better sense of what it is that Spin Master is needing at this point?
Yeah, we actually are looking for awesome stuff. It's just got to be really wow. We meet with a ton of inventors all the time, and we're treating it very much similar. We're going to meet with people, we're going to take a look at their technologies, and at the end of the day, Spin Master is it's a private company, it's extremely entrepreneurial, and the landscape is changing so quickly that there are a lot of investments that we're making into technologies. I think that on the one hand, if it's got a kid wow moment, I think we should, absolutely, you guys should show it to us. If there are technologies that you guys have developed platforms for and you haven't thought about the kids industry, but you feel that there could be some good connections into the kids industry, then that's something that we're interested in. And then additionally, if anybody's looking for financing or anybody's looking for contacts in the industry with a view to potentially growing your business, we can look at technologies as well.
All right, we're a little bit shy of 5 minutes and closing our panel here. I'm opening it up to the audience to ask questions, and if we can't hear you, I'll repeat the question. I encourage you to ask us questions because you have technology innovators, you have content innovators. We heard a lot about the expertise and experience and what these folks are looking for. So by all means, any questions from the audience? Yes?
Thank you very much for your information. I'm in the content entertainment business, and my clients... Thank you. I'm Doug Warner. My company is Warner Artist Management. My clients create content for the youth market, primarily in animation. We do a lot of crossover into the Hispanic cultural market. And currently, I have several projects in development at a network. How would you be interested in wanting to become interested in my project so that we can create a partnership?
Are you directing?
I open that up to the panel, to any of their companies.
I think that always we would love to take a look at your content. We're very visual, we like to see anything, and I think that will start the conversations. I think it's very much, do we get emotionally connected? Are there those things that we can then translate into kids, and then either commercialize it through animation, mobile, toys, apparel. So I think it just starts with looking at the content.
That's great. It's great to hear that. I'd like to meet you after the panel. Thank you.
John, please, I see you have the mic.
A few things have aroused more buzz in the gamer community recently than the Oculus Rift, which for those of you who don't know is essentially sort of military-grade VR headset that is expected to come out at consumer prices at the end of next year. I'm curious, if you guys are believers in what impact you think VR, which does complement gesture very interestingly, will have on the content that's produced, with particular interest in, of course, Blizzard's response.
Well, at the end of the day, it's another mean to provide a much deeper and special user experience. If it's connected to a certain game, it also depends upon the quality of the game. It's not just about pure technology. And I agree with what you've mentioned, that this is a very complementing technology to gesture and motion technology. And we are studying all the time this product. We look at the videos that are going out there. And at the end of the day, we will eventually try to partner and create content which takes both worlds together and provides a supreme user experience.
For us, a very good friend of mine who I've worked with for many years just took over the CEO of the company. I hope they do wonderfully for many reasons. I think that the invention part of what they're trying to do is challenging but exciting. And I also love the idea of making that experience more immersive. When I was at Activision the first time around, I was on a title called MechWarrior 2. And I was a junior production guy. And so junior production guys got up to do all the other stuff, which meant that I went out and I looked at all the VR technology of the day. And resolution was always a big problem. And the head-mount display, and you had something on your sleeve that allowed you to track. And then I moved forward into Disney, and then they had the Aladdin experience, which they had as a location-based entertainment experience at the theme park. And you were on a little thing, and you could look around and see people flying around a magic carpet ride. I think the technology has come so aggressively forward that I think it might be to the point where it is accessible, but I think that's the greatest challenge. Getting people to feel like it's an on-off button, very simple and accessible, I think is the greatest challenge, but I can't wait to toy with it.
All right, we probably have room for one more question. Yes?
So I think we've all seen how Israeli TV formats have become popular in the American market, and if content is king in your industry as well, what are you doing to cultivate or tap or develop content talent in Israel? And if you don't see that forthcoming, what are you doing to partner with content and establish content beachheads in LA?
Anybody want to take a stab at that?
The only thing we know is that, unfortunately, I think this is the major challenge in Israel. I mean, I don't see big gaming companies right now in Israel. We are mostly working with companies here in Europe. So most of the publishers and developers.
Yeah, let me add to that. One of the things that you've seen traditionally in Israel is amazing technology, and then you kind of saw the evolution of that also became amazing design of products and use of ease into end-user use cases. And we're finally seeing something which I think is extremely exciting, is we're finally now seeing content companies come up. There's a company by the name of Sidekick. They're now actually creating content for mobile and console, and I can tell you it's top-grade quality stuff. I'm a big believer that fairly soon you're going to see the next Rovio, which is the makers of Angry Birds, which probably everybody here at least has played in some capacity. I believe you're going to see the next Angry Birds coming from the state of Israel, and I'm willing to bet my money on it. So with that, we're going to wrap up. I want to thank Dan Winters of Activision, Craig Sims of Spin Master, Asaf Barzilay of Extreme Reality, and Meir Friedlander of Playcast. Thank you, panel, and happy playing.